Greetings, this is Clue from Clue's Gallery, and today I am going to assemble one of my pendants. So I've laid out here all of my metal findings and the elements that are going to go onto these head pins. And here is my focal bead. It's two-sided, moon and the sun, day and night, night and day. Da, da, da. And then over here I have my tools that I'm going to be using. Start with the Sharpie, marking the hole I want to punch because the element I have only has 2 holes and I want 3. So I'm going to use my punch and cutter, round nose, and chain nose. So away we go. First I start with the element. This is a nice Tierra cast element. It's got 2 sides to it, but I want to have another hole right up in here in the center. So I'll mark that with my handy dandy marker. You'll have to trust me, it's there. It doesn't really show up here, does it? And then with my punch tool, first I get it in place, and then I look at it straight on and make sure that that's in the center. And then I look at it from the side to see if the placement is correct. And I'm going to move it just a little bit down. Because if you have it too far up in the center, you have to make an extra large loop. And I just gently press, and you'll feel it give a little bit. Wiggle it off, and the nugget comes out. This is pewter, so it's pretty soft. So I like to punch it from both sides because then it gets rid of the little metal pieces. It's nice and smooth now. Since this is a pewter finding, it's not advisable to sand or smooth it off because this is a plated finish, and you will take off the plating and expose the silver pewter. So setting that aside, I work with 20 gauge wire, and this is going to be the piece that runs up through the center of the focal bead. I cut about a 3-inch piece, like so. And I'm going to attach the first piece to the top of here. I like to do the whole setup first because it gives me something to hold on to. So I start about 1 inch up from the top, from the end, and I make a hard right angle. And then I bend up, over, and down, reposition my tool, and bring that wire around. So it makes a right angle. I just want to open that loop up just a smidge so I can get in to that loop, like so. I hold it across the loop, and then with my other pliers I'm going to take it and just do a quick little wrap. This is not going to be seen very much, so it's going to be underneath the caps. And more importantly, if I would have cut a little bit bigger of a tail, I wouldn't be fighting with it right now. But as you can see, if you're using a fine metal, this would eliminate any waste because you don't have to trim anything off. So I'm going to straighten it out just a little bit and make sure that that's coming right up off the center, like so. See that? I'm on focus. There we go. That's a focus. Always fighting with the camera and the focus. So starting from the bottom up, I first put this beautiful little cap with a large hole, and it covers that little bit of wrap. And then I put a little disc, and then I put my focal bead on there, like so, and that will be coming out of the bottom. Once in a while, the hole is a little bit too big, and forgive me, but I didn't get a seed bead, so I'm going to go grab that. Be right back. And I'll get a box. I have a nice little handy dandy box full of all kinds of stuff. And I will see what bead fits best down inside the hole. And I do this a lot in my earrings as well. Let's just try one first. And if we can snug it in there, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. So down to a smaller size. That was an 8. Let's try this one. This one seems to be a little bit tinier. Doesn't really matter the color, as I said. That's going to fit just right. And that will minimize the wobble. It's a wobble minimizer. That's a technical term. All right, so then I have this. This is a piece I have made, and it is done in brass. I really like the antique finish of the brass. And I've selected a nice little piece of jasper to pull out the turquoise color. And I get them all stacked nice and happy, like so. And the final step being I'm going to connect it to my bail, this bail right here. So it's a front to back loop. Therefore, my loop needs to go front to back. Now this being a round nose plier, it's tapered. So the further up I go, the bigger this space will be from here to here, which will allow for the wrap. So I don't really want to wrap more than a few times. So I'll grasp it right about there. I'm bending it towards me, repositioning the tool on top, but I want to fit through that loop. I'm going to slide it up just a smidge. And then I go up, over, and down away from me. Now granted, and I reposition my tool and then bring that forward thusly. So it's still a right angle. See? No, you don't see. There we go. So it's still a right angle off of the main shaft. And then I'm going to attach this piece here. Get it all the way into the loop, like so. And I use my round nose pliers to hold across, like so. See, there's a little bit of wiggle room. That's where the wrap is going to go. So I wrap away from me because ergonomically it's better for your hands. I know that a lot of people show a lot of different ways. Notice that I'm letting go, repositioning my tool, and going around again. And when I come to a stop, see, that's nice and wrapped. I'm going to just get in here with my cutters and with the flesh part against my work, give it a little snip, come back in with my chain nose and chomp down on that a little bit just to make sure there's no pokey out scratchy parts. So there we have the pendant, and that bead can flip around back and forth, and it's time to attach the elements. So I'm going to set this down and stack my beads the way I've got them laid out. I like using a head pin with the ball on the end because it's more decorative. It's interesting, I find myself looking through my camera to try to see what I'm doing, and that doesn't always work. So I get this set and do the same thing again that I just did on the pendant. bend it towards me, reposition the tool, go up, over, and down, reposition the tool, and bring it around. So I'm going to scooch it down just a smidge to make a bigger hole, because she says, why are you making it bigger? Because sometimes the distance from the end to the hole needs to have a little bit more wiggle room. And if you do it too tight, then it's not going to dangle right. So for now, I am just going to stack everything and get it ready to go. As I was saying, I've seen a lot of people's YouTube videos, and I don't always agree with the way that they utilize their tools, because as a retired masseuse, ergonomically, things are not always best to turn it towards you, because you can have repetitive injuries on your wrist and carpal tunnel area. So I always recommend turning away from me for the most part, that you're going to do most of your working. There's always going to be the exception to the rule when you have to do a kink back or, pivot back or whatever, but for the most part, I like to reposition my tools. Round nose on top. Did I straighten that out? No, I didn't. So, I didn't straighten out the head pin, which I'm going to do right now. It's best to do it before you start your work. And I was leaving it that way so I could show you on camera, and then I promptly forgot. So, there you go. Okay, back to the round nose. This is a smaller gauge wire, so that's always going to make a difference on where on the tool you're going to grasp it. This being a smaller gauge wire, I'm going to grasp it closer to the tip of my tool, because I don't want to wrap it more than 3 times. Reposition, up, over, and down away from me. Reposition my tool. Come around. Set that down. And we'll do that again for the last time. So, when you look down the tip of your tool, you should have pretty much a right angle between this wire and that wire. When I'm doing production, I get them all ready. Now, most importantly, I always start in the center with that hole that I created, because other business won't be in the way. And this one's a little bit trickier because it's kind of like in a cul-de-sac. It's an any curve, and it's a little bit trickier to get to. So you're going to work at it from an angle, from the sideways, like so. I want to make sure that wire is at a right angle. Don't grasp it too far down close to your work, because you're holding on to exactly the piece that actually needs to be doing the wrapping. And if you hold it too far out, you don't have enough control. So about the halfway point, pull away from me, let go, reposition my tool, bring around and up, let go, reposition my tool. And I'm always putting some tension on it as I'm doing the wrap. And it should be 3 times. And it's a little bit overlapping, so I'm going to back it off and trim it. She says, and trim it on camera is a whole different thing. Because I want you to see what I'm doing too. So I'm getting in here and trimming that a little bit. So there's going to be a little bit of a piece sticking up, which I like to get at with my ultrafine chain nose pliers. And yes, we do carry these pliers. They're $10. They're specifically designed for lighter weight wire, not big heavy gauge stuff, 20 gauge and thinner. And I'm going to continue on and repeat this process with the last 2 pieces. hold across the circle and do your final wraps. Sometimes it's good to pivot your hand rather than your head so you can see what the heck you're doing. I chose this antique bronze to go with the sun and moon, because typically everybody always wants to use silver, and I thought this is a really nice warm color, and the sun is warm, isn't it? Well, the sun is really hot, but you know what I mean. I'm just being silly because that's what we have to do in these trying times. See, if you were to grab this and just wind it around, it would all wrap around the end of your tool, and you don't want that. I used to do that when I was a beginner, back in the day. Okay, and I'm coming nice and close. Flesh part to the work, snip it off, and come in and give it a little squeeze so it's nice and flush. And voila. There you have a finished pendant. Day and night, day and night. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed that. This is Clue. You can find me on Clue Art Beads on Facebook, or Cluey911 on Instagram, and here on my YouTube channel. So if you have any questions, you can ask me, and if you're interested in buying all these components, you can reach out to me on my Facebook page. I'm sorry, my website currently, in this month of May 2020, the website is currently not active because it too got a virus. So hang in there and be good to each other. Ciao.